Well, hello, welcome back to Intermediate Composition or Intermediate Writing. Professor Kent Lee here. By now you've probably seen a little post about your midterm, Google form asking you to at least choose a possible topic for your midterm. I'm going to talk about proposals today in these two videos. And for the midterm, well, basically what you see on the website, that's also your midterm. If you change your mind for the midterm project, you can also just do the Google form again and no problem. Even if it's past the technical due date, that's fine. We're going to talk about the proposals and what proposals are in the first video. In the second video, we'll go through some examples. So a proposal is kind of a formal document to apply maybe for funding, for authorization to do something, permission to do something, or to propose a business agreement, like a business relationship, one company providing a service for another company. We'll see some examples. And I've added another option to the business proposal, or to the proposal assignment options, to the midterm options, for a business agreement type thing. So if you did it already, you can, if you want to change your mind, you can do that again. You can do the Google form again and do that option number 4. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to look at the website. There is information about the assignment on the class website. We haven't used the class website much. I'm mainly going to use it for the midterm, and then I think shortly after the midterm, we're going to look at sources, types of sources, especially for the final project, the final paper. So there's something on the website that we will use for that. And then at the time that I'm filming this, I have a couple of sample proposals on the class website. So I've got a description of the midterm proposal project and then some examples. Later, after this video, after I film this, I'm going to put those examples on a separate page, and I'll have a link there for you. Just to, in terms of space on the class website, it'll be much cleaner, more organized if I move the examples to a separate page. So when it comes to proposals, if it's like a business proposal, it could be solicited, like a company's asked for proposals. They put out a public notice, a RFP, a request for proposals, RFP, request for proposals. Like our company needs this, we will accept proposals for clients to provide us this service or this help that we need. It could be unsolicited, it could be just out of the blue. Your company thinks, oh, that company might benefit from our service. Even though they haven't, publicly asked for any help, we'll just send them a private letter or document and propose a relationship that would help them and us. So some of the options you have, I'll go through them. So the options are basically this. So I've got this fictional foundation to which you will write a proposal. One is an academic research project. So imagine that you are going to be a senior in college and you want to do like a special studies course and do a special research project, maybe in the summer before your 4th year of college, or during your 4th year of college, your senior year. In some universities in the US, like in certain degree programs, you might have like a senior research project. Sometimes they call it a capstone project. Capstone because it's like a way to kind of bring all that you've learned in the past 4 years and the skills from your different classes all together into maybe one big research project. It leads to maybe a big research paper for your 4th year that might be called a bachelor's thesis. So even if the school doesn't have that, or your program doesn't have it, you could do an independent study with a professor and propose a research project at many schools. So this is a special research project in a special studies, independent studies course under the direction of a professor who is qualified to lead you in this. You do some research and it leads to like a full page, a full-length bachelor's thesis, a nice, lovely research paper of 20, 30 pages or so. Or this could be for a master's program, a master's project. In master's programs, you typically do a research project that leads to a master's thesis. So this could be funding for a master's thesis, kind of an initial research project, and there's a limit on the amount here. A community service project, you can propose a project that's going to benefit a community, your community or some other community in some area. It could be in your city, in your country, it could be in another country. If you're a foreign student in my class, you can do this something in your country. You could do it in another country. It could be like you want to do something in a third world country. There has to be a suitable professor or business leader in like the community where you are now, where you're writing this, who could be a good advisor for the project. So for a lot of these school projects for students, options 1, 2, or 3, you need to have an advisor or some credible person in the community who could be a director and advisor for your project, because any foundation giving you money wants to know that there's somebody who is holding you accountable, somebody who's managing the funds, the money, and they can contact this person, like if they have, hey, what's going on with this project? What's the student doing? Why is this student flying to South America all the time? Or something like that. So there has to be some sort of a supervisor involved. Third, business project proposal for a student, like for a fourth-year student. This could be to fund an idea for a new business, or maybe you don't want to start a new business, but you want to research and develop a new invention, a new product, a new service, a new idea that maybe a company would be interested in, or could later lead to your own company, starting your own company, or something you could bring to a company, you could sell, you could develop and then sell to a company that would be interested in this. This could be identifying and explaining a specific need, a new market, a new idea. There's actually a need or a potential market for this new product, this new invention, or this new kind of service, some kind of a service that you can offer. A specific plan for developing it, and again, with all of these, you need to explain a specific timeline, who's going to do what. Maybe some of the funding is to hire helpers for any of these projects, to hire helpers to help you with the stuff. And you need to show for any of these projects that you're qualified and that you can complete it. Okay, so there's a certain amount of possible budget here for options 1, 2, and 3. Option 4, there is no budget. This is maybe, imagine you're an executive or manager with a company and you want to propose a possible agreement or working relationship with another company. So it's not really a budget. You might be providing a quote. Let us give you a quote for our services, a quote and estimate for services. So imagine you're an executive or a manager with a company and you thus have the authority to actually make a proposal to another company, a proposal for both companies to enter into some kind of agreement, some kind of working relationship. Maybe your company has a service it can provide to another company, or a product you can provide to another company. Maybe it's another company that maybe the company B realizes they have a real problem with their website, their online shopping sites, and they really need help to fix it. They need expertise, so you could offer them web development services. Maybe they don't realize it, and you can write them and say, hey, we realize that there's we've identified a number of problems with your website, with your shopping website, and we like your company and we'd like to help you. Well, we can offer some services to help you improve your website and your online business. It could be product. Let us provide your company with computer hardware that you need for your company to operate. Computer hardware, servers, computer servers, or something. So this is option number 4, a business agreement proposal, which I just added, and that's possible too. Okay, so some components in your general requirements should be at least 2 pages or 1.5 pages if double spaced, probably, well, even two pages single spaced. I need to correct that in the website. Um, you should cite a couple sources, and I'll talk about sources later on. Maybe next Monday's video, I think I'll talk about sources. I should kind of cite and footnote a couple of sources, at least English sources included. Use them meaningfully. This could be business or professional quality sources. It could be an online article from a professional website, a professional business writer about particular kinds of business services, for example, or an academic problem if you're doing an academic research project. And it should be submitted in the LMS as a full-length document at the end of the midterm period. Okay, so let's see. General steps. You would want to begin with, say, a title page. You can look in the appendix of my book for a title page example. So the first section of my appendix, there is a, the first page is an example of kind of like general homework and writing assignments. Or you can do a title page, which is right after that. Or you could either have a title page or you could do business letter format. And I'll talk about business letter format a bit, maybe next Monday or so. Business letter. So business letter is written in single line spacing. You have at first your address at the top of the document and date, and brief contact information like an email address or phone number, both. Then you have the date which you wrote the letter, and then the address of the person to whom you're writing. Of course, you're doing fictional examples, so you can kind of fictionalize that. That's okay, or you don't have to include that, but you would have your own address. So you'd begin with a title page or business letter format. State the problem or need. If it's an academic research project, okay, what's the problem? Or it could be, if it's an academic research project, it could be a research question or a hypothesis. I want to look at this. Why? Be specific. Come up with a specific idea for something you want to research, and something that should be feasible, doable. You can do it within one research project. If it's looking at a whole bunch of different authors, and if you're doing literature research and you're going to look at a whole bunch of different authors in one country, maybe too much. Maybe you're looking at one particular work by an author or a few works by an author. Okay, maybe doable. Focus on something that's doable. A problem or a need. If it's a community research project, again, it should be something practical, something you can actually do and you can measure it. So don't say, I'm going to end world hunger. It's way too idealistic, way too general, or I'm going to end hunger in this country. No, way too idealistic, way too big for a small project. It could be a very specific need you're going to try to meet, and maybe in a small, poor, rural town in your country, a small town or rural area, that needs specific help. Something that's feasible, doable, practical. So likewise, your solution should be specific, it should be feasible, it should be something with outcomes you can measure. Measurable outcomes, like we can kind of measure what's the outcome, what is the exact improvement in, say, kids' literacy levels, reading level, ability in this little village, or something like that. You should propose a timeline and budget, including who's going to do what. Maybe you're going to do everything yourself if it's a research project. Maybe you're going to ask other people for help. Maybe you're going to hire other people to help you with a business or community service project. State your budget and timeline and who exactly is going to do what and when and where. Then at some point, maybe especially at the beginning, you should explain your qualifications. In what way are you qualified to do this academic research project or this community service project or this business project? That includes some kind of a sponsor or supervisor, like a professor. Unless it's option 4, a business agreement. For options 1, 2, and 3, you're probably going to need some kind of a sponsor or supervisor, like a professor or other leader. in the community who can oversee your project, somebody who can manage the money, some kind of quality control here, or for option 4, you of course need to explain your qualifications, your company's qualifications, and how much money you're asking, and how you're going to spend it, and some kind of quality control process or way of knowing, okay, what we're doing for your company is actually working, some way to measure it. Specific rationale, objectives, outcomes, something you can look at and measure. Now, if it's something like a literature study project, there might not be measurable outcomes, but it should have some kind of a social value or academic value in terms of what you're going to do. Looking at this question of this, these kinds of characters in these novels, or what this author does, and it's going to lead to deeper understanding and help us to teach, this kind of literature better in a literature classroom. In a body paragraph near the end or in your conclusion, you should have some explanation of the importance of your work or its implications. If it's a business agreement project, maybe a call to action also in your conclusion, like, this is what we can do for you, please contact us and let us help you. A call to action. More specifically for the different kinds of projects, the academic research project, you're going to state a research question, hypothesis, problem. A research plan, what kind of methods are you going to use? The details of your research project, rationale why. Are you going to consult other scholars? Are you going to interview other scholars? You're going to, try to collect some original documents to analyze original historical documents or something like that. Specific goals and objectives. What are the specific goals of your project and objectives and outcomes? What's this going to lead to? Like a new way of understanding this kind of literature and teaching it or something. Obstacles and how you might handle those obstacles, problems. And again, especially early on, your qualifications and ability to do the project, to do the research, to manage the funds, or to work with a professor who's going to help manage the funds and complete the project in time. There should be a timeline that's reasonable. So timeline and budget and all that. Why is your project unique? Why does it deserve funding? What are the unique, distinctive aspects of your research? Likely outcomes, benefits, even if it's somewhat intangible or abstract, like a better understanding of this kind of poetry and maybe how to teach it or help students understand it better, or it could be more specific, like something measurable we can measure in the classroom or measure in a small community where we're doing this project. Community service and business projects, a specific situation or problem that can be addressed with one simple project. This project is a fairly small, simple project. We're talking about something on the scale of, let's fund it up to like a limited amount of money. So you're not going to solve hunger in Africa or something like that. Something specific and doable within a fairly short project in time. Your plan, the proposed solution, approach, details, and all of that. Again, specific goals and objectives, outcomes you can measure. Like, we're going to develop this new market, this new product or service for companies, and we'll be able to measure, like, whether they have an measured increase in efficiency or sales or workplace efficiency or something like that. Obstacles and how we handle them. Again, your qualifications to do this, budget, timeline, and so on. A few more examples. Okay, new products for an unmet need, new type of web-based service or company. Maybe you can think, oh, there's a potential for some kind of an online or web-based service that hasn't been done before. Okay, do it. A really good idea for a new app or app-based service, like an iPhone or Android app or desktop program. I don't know, examples, an app to help those with body image problems, a new productivity app that's really different and unique and would really be helpful. Productivity refers to things like a word processor, like MS Word or spreadsheet, presentation software, like your office software, basic office software. Those are productivity apps, a PDF maker also. things like that. Maybe a form maker for making forms. If you can create something better than Google Forms that I can afford, do it. I'm not always happy with Google Forms and the way it works. But if you're a productivity app that's really unique and original and would really make our lives more productive beyond what others have already done. Something for improving worker motivation at a company or workplace efficiency at a company or office. Some kind of literacy or training program for poor kids, migrant kids in one community. Reforming, I would even allow things like a specific idea for reforming curriculum at your school. It could be your high school, where you went to a college program or some other school. Education administration programs too. Now business agreements, option 4, a little different. I would recommend that maybe you begin with a short paragraph that just summarizes your whole project, your proposal. It's called an executive summary. It's about 1 paragraph there, an executive summary. And I'll give you a link to a website later with some examples of that. I found at least one website that has some nice examples. Now the proposals there are not like text documents, what I'm asking you to write. I want you to write a text document, but I found one good website that has proposals that are more like slide presentation PowerPoint format, which is not great for our purposes, but you can learn some things from those examples, and there's some explanation of why those proposals are good or bad. And many times they have like a summary at the beginning. So like academic papers, maybe you've read academic papers that have an abstract at the beginning. So something like that. It's a short summary of your basic idea. And then you get into the body of the paper. So the summary is like a separate paragraph at the beginning that is just an overview of your proposal. Then the body of your paper. Again, you explain a specific situation, problem, or need. Particular solution. Maybe it's a solution that you can provide. Your company can provide a solution for another company. And explain the feasibility and costs, timeline, budget. At some point, somewhere, you should explain your own qualifications and your company's qualifications to do this. Again, rationale, objectives, measurable outcomes. Clarify things like pricing options, your terms and conditions. Some kind of quality control steps, or if they're not happy with the project, how can they complain? Can they get a refund or something like that? And conclude with, implications. This is going to help you grow your online sales. Please contact us to discuss forming a working relationship. Some more ideas for kind of the general format or template. For a number of these project ideas or proposal ideas. Again, brief self-introduction, keep it brief. Maybe here you could talk about your qualifications too, or maybe it helps to introduce yourself, give an overview of the general purpose of your project, then explain your qualifications, your background, your expertise, and maybe also those of a sponsor, a professor, or supervisor who's going to help you with the project if it's options 1, 2, or 3, or if it's a number option 4, your qualifications, your company's experience and qualifications and past successes with this kind of project. 3, state the problem or question, a specific description of your hypothesis or your proposal or your solution, especially if it's 2, 3, or 4 solution that's specific and doable. Specific goals and objectives and outcomes. Okay, what's going to happen as a result of this? What are measurable outcomes that you can point to and say, hey, it worked? What is unique and distinctive about your project, your idea? Or what's unique and distinctive about what your company can do for the other company? Timeline, budget, how are you going to allocate the funds, especially if it's like 1, 2, and 3, options 1, 2, and 3. How are you going to spend the money? Tell us how are you going to spend the money in brief. I'm not going to have you write a detailed budget. If you're writing a proposal, that would probably be a separate document. I'm not going to have you do that, but in like 1 paragraph, explain the budget and the timeline and who's going to do what, how are you going to spend the money. So that's a brief overview. I'll invite you to the class website, and then what will be a separate page with some proposal examples, some good, some not so good, of my own, and I'll also provide you a link to another website that has some fairly nice business proposals in more slide presentation format, which you can also learn something from. All right, that's it for this video. In the next video, I'll kind of walk through some examples that I have thought about or have put on the website, or I will put on the website soon. Okay, until then, see you in a little bit. Bye.